Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Or as well as can be. Just need to clickety-clack, clickety-clack. I do have a Doug, and I do have Kofi. Okie dokie, just sharing links quickly. Good morning, Apex and Marcus. Hope you're both doing well. Borg, Quads, Yamashisha. Hope you're all doing well. Okay. That is that. First of all, we're going to get the combined chat working, and that'll be awesome. I'm glad you enjoy the content. Thank you, Samantha, for the updates and shares. Very much appreciated. Just faffing around with settings so I can get the combined chat working. Otherwise, we don't get much. But today we will be doing Nature of Predators. That is the plan, at least. 5 chapters. Why? Hello? Greetings, Waka. Hope you're having a good morning. It's awesome, Waka. It's awesome. It's always scary moving out for the first time. More penguins in space, yes. Yes, yes. Good morning, Shadow. Hope you're doing well. Okay. For some reason, the combined chat doesn't want to connect to YouTube. We're going to have to do this whilst live. That's also. Okay. That settings. Embed and stream. Okay. There we go. Working now. Okay. Let me just catch up on anything that was missed. Look, spaghetti bolognese is a pretty simple meal. It's a good meal to know how to make. Alright, and then Twitch. Yes, that is true. All snacks are banned and bad when you're diabetic. Okay. We are combined. There we go. That's awesome. Look, I mean, when you're living alone, meal prep is a cornerstone because everything is sold in family sizings. But yeah, I used to do that. Mix up a week or two worth of food, freeze it, and then just nuke it in the microwave when I got home. You just need to be careful with your portioning sizes, because that goes tits up, especially if you're not paying attention. Yep, and then single person's go-to emergency food is just get some ramen or Maggie's 2-minute noodles or something like that. It's not the healthiest, but some days when you get home from work, you just want energy. You don't care how it arrives. That's true, but it's not tits up in the other series. It's just tits. Sometimes she's up, sometimes she's not. My moustache needs a little bit of a trim. Alright, oatmeal works as well. I prefer muesli though. Much quicker, much more energy. And not the best thing for a diabetic, but you get the sugar-free ones, or the low GI ones. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes. When I was working in corporate, I used to eat a decent amount of McDonald's. Not because I particularly liked McDonald's, but because around the corner from where I lived, there was a 24-hour McDonald's. It was one of the first in the country. So I would arrive home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and just be hungry. I was like, I don't care. I don't want to cook. I'm tired. I had to go to the drive-thru, grab some food, and then, yeah, go home, eat, sleep, go back to work. You know, usual corpos shit. Just remember to store your grains properly, Vaka, otherwise you're going to get weevils, and you don't want that. Ideally, you want them vacuum sealed into portion sizes or similar. And then throw in a desiccation pack, just to keep the moisture out. Although, don't know, I'm sure you guys get weevils in America, well, all around the world. Because we suffered with it quite a bit in Johannesburg. So we didn't have to worry about the humidity and moisture causing mold in the grains. But if it wasn't, flower beetle, it's called a weevil. I think that's the same thing. Okay, there's way... yeah, I think. It's the same thing. Okay, they're not the same. Pretty similar. But my point still stands. You need to store them in proper containers, airproof. What the? Yeah, brain is still not waking up yet. What? You want to hug? Okay. Oh, there we go. Why are we whining? Hmm? What you want? They're pretty similar. And little snotty snots. From what my 5-second YouTube Google search, weevils and flower beetles are very, very similar. Yes, the vicious beast. I don't think most people pay that much attention when they find beetles in their grain. Although, rice isn't a grain. Isn't classified as a grain. But all of your carb stuff you want to seal properly. Because weevils are, well, one, you don't really want to eat them, but they are very bad for you. From a health point of view, I think they're semi-poisonous to eat. And once you find one weevil, you have to throw away the whole thing. Well, in South Africa, ants are a massive problem. But they don't generally go for the grains, they'll go for the sugary stuff. That's why we used to keep our sugar in the fridge. When I met my wife for the first time, she saw the sugar in the fridge. She's like, why the hell is the sugar in the fridge? I said, when was the last time you saw an ant in the fridge? She said, I've never seen an ant in the fridge. And I said, well, there you go. No ants in the fridge. Okay. Oof. Yeah, man. Be comfy. What are you doing, dog? Lay down. You don't want you. I need to release the beast. I will be right back. All right, back. Yeah, the chair's been very bashful. Good morning, Deuce. I'm doing well, and yourself? Oh, next stuff. All right. My pleasure, Deuce. My pleasure. I suppose we should start doing the work stuff. Greetings, ladies and metal-dress, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators, Book 2. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 6. Memory Transcription. Subject, Tassie Bison, Scientist. Date, Standardized Human Time, March 14th, 21. Date, Standardized Human Time, March 14th, 2160. The human settled next to me at the table, fiddling with the utensils as if to gauge their weight. He'd spent much of the time while FAI scientists were trickling. He'd spent So far, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. I mean, 5 chapters out of 100 is only 5%. So we're still building up the first act. And much of the time, while He'd spend much of the time while FAI scientists were trickling in explaining basics, which had already been passed along to Naltor and I. Heliska, meanwhile, was doing her best attempt to sink into the chair, while Nulia seemed to be watching the reactions as real-time quality control. I noticed the Gojid speaking up, each time Dustin's words were misinterpreted or unclear to the Bisons. Each time that Dustin's words were misinterpreted or unclear to some Bisons. Perhaps I could encourage her to take the lead, and get her to open up a little about her personal life. The Terran xenobiologist had seemed like any other person when he spoke of his past as an orphan. "You say that you were raised by a human, Nudia," I prompted. "How did that lead you to become How did that lead you to become a sociologist and to wind up in the First Contact Party?" Nulia leaned back, hesitating. "My home life was, difficult at times. It's a long story, but much like Dustin, I wound up living on Skulgar, home of the Venlil." "Hold on. I thought Dustin was from Earth." "He is. He was forced to evacuate from his planet, like many other humans, due to unforeseeable events. Don't ask me. Stayed with the Venlil as a temporary refugee, and wound up getting permanently adopted. Without his adoptive mother encouraging him and part-time job studying wildlife with the exterminators. Another long story. I doubt he would have pursued this passion fully. If you like more details, I suggest you ask him." Yeah, I'm still on the fence about the stories that jump around very much, like huge swaths of the story. If you like more details, I suggest you ask him. I apologize for getting sidetracked. I was asking about you, Nudia. We'd like to get to know all of you. There's not much to tell about me. I had a lot of resentment towards my own people, and the human soldier that rescued me also got stuck caring for a Vendel friend. Slanek, his name was. He had a few years where he got better, before there was nothing the doctors could do. Once I understood what was happening, I didn't want to be around and watch that decline. Poured myself into studies, and graduating and getting as far away from Skulgar. I started learning Vrit before I'd even gotten my certificates. Perhaps that's a selfish motivation. You don't want to open up to people because you're afraid of losing them, I guess. That's understandable. That's for you to judge. I was one of the youngest Gojits to graduate with a degree in my field. Whatever my personal issue, I can assure you I'm both qualified and stable enough to analyze your society. Not a problem, Deuce, not a problem. Analyze your society. Hope you have a great one. To analyze your society. I'm not worried about your qualifications. I've just started to get this crazy fantasy in my head that we could become, friends. We could bond. I'm happy to get to know more about the Bisons and see where it goes from there. Do you ever just watch people, Doctor? Just look around and make observations like you're some omniscient narrator? Can't say that I do. Perhaps I understand, Alto chimed in from a few seats down. Always watch the exits, count the potential threats. You never know when a situation could go sideways. Nulia waggled her claw. That isn't what I meant at all. I just meant you look at the person's behavior and imagine what they're feeling, what their life might have been like. I do that on a microscopic scale, and it follows that, as a sociologist, that's what I'm doing on a wider scale. Any observations you can share about how our development compares to your own? I prompted. As things stand, you have a lot less, outside interference. On a less bleak note, Bison flightlessness influencing religion is one of the more intriguing topics I've found. How you must have compared yourselves to other birds, to the point of one faith proclaiming that the Kale took the ability away from you. Heliska glanced up for a brief moment. I find it interesting that Bisons view it all as fight. I find it interesting that Bisons view it as flight being taken away rather than swimming being given to them. There's nothing more joyful than splashing around in the waves on a hot day. I agree with that. Not too fecking hot here, Althor commented, gesturing to his Selma blubber meant for the Arctic. Gesturing to his Selma blubber meant for the Arctic. If there wasn't water, I'd melt into a damn bubble. The Bisons love water, Heliska, but the reason for the comparison is simple. We often do not appreciate what we have, and we want that which is not within our grasp, Nulia commented, ignoring the Selma. That's why I've spent so much of my life wishing my mother hadn't abandoned me, despite having a chaperone who nurtured me to the best of his ability. It's natural. Morning, James. Hope you're doing well. I tapped my tan flipper on the table, watching out of my periphery as platters of food were carried into the room. I spent a lot of time wishing that aliens would arrive and solve all of our problems. Do you think that means I don't appreciate Varana? I most certainly love our homeworld. I just want it to the best it can be. Forgive my honest answer, but I suspect it reflects on what you believe about Bison nature. You think that you need fixing because of your flaws. Accepting imperfection is, difficult, in general. Whether it's wishing for flight or wishing for more love in the world, sometimes it's easier to believe there's a magical fix. My eyes lowered towards the ground, weighing the truth in Nudia's words. Given that she devoted her career to studying different societal motivations and her professed affinity for watching people's behavior, I shouldn't be surprised that her assessments were spot on. While I was half-hearted believer in Horus and an afterlife at the center of Avrana, I could recognize the validity of Heliska's comment on Kale as well. Instead of despairing at our own flightlessness, we could marvel at how swimming gave us the means to create a society. If we hadn't been driven to fish and circumnavigate the seas, we wouldn't have developed many of our gifts so soon. What would the Bisons even be without fishing? Those other alien birds that Justin mentioned before could fly, but if I could trade places, I wouldn't. For all of our flaws and for all my hopes. For all of our flaws and all my hopes that we can behave in peaceful fashion, there is so much that I love about Bison culture. We're unique and blessed to be joining a sea of diverse cultures. Heliska expressed and looked a bit queasy as several fish cutlets sat in front of her. That's a real dead animal in front of me, not something grown in a lab. You knew that, Lydia warned. Pull yourself together. Naltol leveled a direct stare at the Thatkey. There's vegetable dishes as well, per Dustin's request. Is there something I can get you? No, thanks, the blue-gray mammal murmured. Maybe just no one talk to me for a minute. Please, I need to breathe. The human turned away from his back and forth with FAI scientists, who were hanging on his every word. What a bounty you guys have laid out for us. I see that you even cooked one of the trays. That must have been Tessa's doing. Hanging on his every word. What a bounty you guys have laid out before us. I see that you even cooked one of the trays. That must have been Tassie's doing. You listened when I said we heat our meals. Of course I listened. There's nothing I want more than to learn everything about your species, I replied. I hope it's to your liking. Please, help yourself, as our guests. We'd like you to eat first. Well, I'm not about to turn down something that smells so delightful. I appreciate all of your effort and the special accommodations. All of you staying late. And on the last day. All of you staying late. On the last day before the weekend. Away from your homes and families. Just to spend time with us. Now, I'm not just the first xenobiologist on your world. I'll be the first to sample your food. The flavors of Ivrana will be a blessing to my taste buds. I have no doubt. Now watch him spit it out, Nalto joked as Dustin heaped a prayer. Now watch him spit it out, Nalto joked as Dustin heaped a press fish. Joked. I'll watch him spit it out, Nalto joked, as Dustin heaped a fish cutlet and a scoop of greens onto his plate. Whatever it is, it can't be worse than that Strustrumming, I think is the correct term for that. I know what it is. I've heard the word. I just need to remember how to pronounce it.
Surströmming.
Ow. Sorry. This website's so fucking loud. Surströmming. Oh. Alright, we're back, okay. Surströmming. Wasn't too far. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, it can't be worse than surströmming. Fermented fish some crazy folks at home eat, despite the fact that it smells like a rotten corpse. I better stop talking, or I'll kill my own appetite. Heliska was putting at her rounded ears after the human shoved her remarks, and batted Nulia's paw away as the Gojid tried to intervene. I was about ready to step in on the Thafki's behalf, despite the fact that I didn't know for certain what I was witnessing. My gut was telling me that she shouldn't be anywhere near this table. Cameras were streaming her erratic behavior to the world. I decided not to spoil the moment and break up the festivities until Dustin had enjoyed our offering. The human's eyes twinkled as he sliced off a meager bite of meat, and instead... Okay. Interesting. The human's eyes twinkled as he sliced off a meager bite of meat and inserted it into his jaw. He pushed it around on his tongue for a moment before his lips curved up in approval. Nulia shot a concerned look at Aliska before grabbing a must be fresh fish. Before grabbing a fresh fish cutlet for herself. That seemed to be the snapping point for the Thafki, who bolted from the table with manic eyes. Several FAI scientists gasped in alarm while Naltor attempted to stop her. The blue-gray alien ducked his grasp, with the advantage of her short height. I watched in disbelief as she ran off towards where the public was lurking. She couldn't just roam our streets at first contact. I knew the Selmore General was thinking the same thing. Outside of a controlled environment, there was no guarantee of her safety, or, from the military's point of view, ours. There was nothing to stop reporters from cornering her either. Dustin stood from his chair. Aliska, you can't run off. This is their planet. We're their guests. We don't have permission to wander. Hallie, stop! You're causing a scene in front of hundreds of cameras. You can't run away from the Bisons on their own world. Damn it! I can't believe an alien roaming loose in the streets. What the feck has gotten into her? Naltor spat. Please don't hurt her. I know she has no right to scamper off when we're just building trust, but she's having a panic attack. I beg you to forgive her transgression. I'll have to my men collect Narishka, but you can forget waiting until tomorrow to give us the full story. I want to know why she did that right now. Not here. Let's take it somewhere private. Dr. Tassie comes as well, if she wants. It is to do. Dr. Tassie can come as well if she wants. For those watching, the Thafki species has some residual trauma that caused Heliska to react in such a way. I'd rather not spell out something so sad to everyone as part of our introduction. The Selmore General narrowed his eyes. Fine. If you're not thrilled. The Selmore General narrowed his eyes. The Selmore General narrowed his eyes. Fine. If you're not truthful, though, I might have to find a reason to detain Heriska for questioning. General Naltor, that is crossing the line, I spat. I don't care. I'm not having any detail left out when it's information Bisons need to know, and when it's affecting their self-control. There's no need for us to get ruffled feathers. We can settle this privately like adults. Dustin wolfed down a few more bites of his food before abandoning his plate. Please, show me to a secluded spot. I'll be more than forthcoming. Naltor rose from the table, seeming to weigh bringing security along for the conversation, before declining that thought. Before deciding that he could handle the human's unimpressive physique. Nulia shared a few whispers with Dustin. The Terran asked the Goja to stay with the other FAI scientists and try to smooth things over for the cameras, as well as to soothe Heliska if she was brought back in our absence. I followed with my own reluctant curiosity. Well, I wanted answers to what happened in their atrocious war, and how it tied into the feast. It felt wrong to threaten a human teammate to ensure his cooperation. The Selmore General was just hanging. Good morning, Joseph. Hope you're doing well. The Selmore General was just lashing out from fear, since whatever hypotheticals he was conjuring about the missing details were likely getting more sinister by the minute. Eliska didn't like seeing the fish brought out, and she definitely didn't like Dustin and Nudia putting cutlets on their plates. The human said that it was a panic attack, and that the Thapki had trauma. Does Eliska see herself as the fish, somehow? That's a deranged conclusion, isn't it? Dustin waited as Naltor shut the door to an unassuming office, before sitting down in a chair. The human's expression looked crestfallen. I could see that he was distraught over how the dinner had fallen apart. He knew as well as we both did how the populace would be reacting to Heliska's sudden departure. It made the aliens look emotional and unstable, as if Runner's first impression of how they interact with us Bisons. Speculation must be running rampant about the Thapki's behavior, and we have to make a statement about it sooner rather than later. The Selmore General had a point about getting to the bottom of this without any further delays. I'm going to tell you everything without any exclusions, but I'm begging you not to freak out, Naltor. Dustin sighed. We need to try get through this together. Humanity will help you every step of the way. The Selmore folded his flippers and crossed. The Selmore folded his flippers and the Selmore folded his flippers with a cross expression. I have a feeling I'm not going to love what you're about to say. You're not. The thing about galactic history is, it's an absolute clusterfuck. It just gets worse the more you hear. If it's any solace, we had to jump right into it with nobody to turn to, when it was still an ongoing phenomenon, not just a thing of the past. Nerves constricted my throat. You're doing an excellent job at instilling dread over how dark the story might be. I'm sorry, Tassie, but I'm trying to break it to you straight, without inspiring panic. So here it goes. That species that wiped out the Thapki homeworld, they called the Arxor, and they perpetrated hundreds of gruesome raids, which were tailored towards collecting sapient cattle. Dustin waited as a gasp escaped from my beak, and Naltor leaned in with disbelief. What kind of abominable civilization would hold thinking people as livestock? Yeah, it's ugly. Heliska's kind only had 12,000 free individuals, while millions were only just liberated and brought to the commune as part of their Treaty of Sol. That's beyond horrible. Why would anyone want to eat other sapient species? I shrieked before noticing Dustin wince at my volume. Sorry, the feast brings up memories of the Arxor species' atrocities towards her kind. Yes, but I'm afraid it's more complicated than that. When humans came to space, we were considered abominations by the Federation. The ruling entity The ruling entity that saw predators as monsters. They had quite the liberal definition of predator. But our binocular eyes made us especially offensive. Many still consider it disgusting that we eat meat, even today. Now, the founders of the Federation would abduct members of pre-FTL species and use them in genetic experiments to cure them, to make them allergic to meat, and wipe everything predatory from their past. Nalto's brain seemed to be freezing, or so his dumbfounded expression would imply. I'm sorry, what? What the actual feck? When you were saying our first contact would have been different, you're saying that they would have cured us? Lulia's species was cured, and you uncured her. Oh, itchy armpit. Good morning, Merlin. Nulia's species was cured, and you uncured her, I added, feeling my head hurt as the great... Nulia's species was cured, and you're uncured. Nulia's species was cured, and you uncured her, I added, feeling my head hurt as the gears turned. She mentioned it to Heliska. We helped undo the gene edits forced on many races. We've tried to uncover every species' true history and give it back to them. Prejudice against us has been something we've struggled with. Humanity was nearly wiped out when we achieved FTL, and it was the Federation that tried to kill us. Because of what we were. They tried to cure us, and it failed by their own interpretation. They tried to cure us, and it failed by their own ineptitude. Like they would have failed with you, because you're obligate carnivores. So they would have just killed us, Naltor chirped. That's fucking great. Are these species still a threat? This is something the military needs to know about. We won that war. We have control of the sector, and have neutralized or assimilated parties that might be a threat to you. Candidly, the threats you're facing are more diplomatic in nature. We'll support your efforts and protect you if anyone raises a wing against you. However, there are many who will compare you to the Arxor, the now exiled species that ate sapiens and fed on cruelty. Mysims are the only true obligate carnivores we know of. These prejudices will lead to a challenging and unfair introduction, no matter how much we try to step in. I felt as though the human had kicked ice into my eyes, a cold shock that threatened to pull out my emotions via tears. After all my fantasies about putting forth a good first impression on Uvrana, Dustin laid out the aliens would be prejudiced against us, because the other sapient carnivores fucking ate people. How could we convince them that Bisoms wouldn't do that? If they studied us for so long and still arrived at that conclusion, fishing as such... Oh, thank you, Merlin, thank you. Things are rough there at the moment. From what I've heard, people still there. To that conclusion, fishing was such a central part of our culture that I'd never even considered that it was what triggered Heliska's fright. For all my fantasies about what aliens would be like, and how eager I'd been at Dustin's speech for what they could teach us, I'm not sure there's a place for us in the Sapient Coalition. Besides, Uvrana isn't ready to hear that other spacefaring species would have killed us if we'd been discovered before humanity. All my life, I wanted to find you. My voice sounded broken, discouraged, and defeated, as the realizations that Bisoms were incompatible with friendship in the stars sunk in. As the realization that Bisoms were incompatible with friendship in the stars sunk in. I wanted to learn about you, but not like this, not such an unspeakable path. It's cool. I think I heard something about that. But farmers, good farmers, can pretty much go most places. I wanted to learn about you, but not like this. Not such an unspeakable pass. Dustin pursed his lips. I know they're not ready to contact you, but we couldn't wait. Your overfishing on Avrana has reached a point of no return. Without outside help, there will be global consequences and mass starvation. I won't sugarcoat it. You're amidst a complete marine ecosystem collapse. Your oceans are acidifying, and there are 50 times more CO2 in the atmosphere. It'll start making much of Avrana uninhabitable to boot. Some scientists know this, Tassie. I think you do too. I know the oceans are dying. The waters are becoming more orange, polluted with algae than ever. I don't see what I can do about... We need to come up with lab-grown meat. It's not just the American media. But you gotta do what you gotta do, I think. I don't see what I can do about... We need to come in with lab-grown meat, so that you ease the burden of the fishing on your environment, beyond what farms can do. We'll help you clean your oceans. We have robots that can scour for plastic, and we can help reintroduce endangered species before it's too late. There's zero time for inaction. All of our simulations have shown this. We don't need all bisons to cooperate with each other, but we need you to cooperate with us. That's your plan. You said yourself you didn't know how the Tassie would react, that you didn't want an ICBM in your hull, Naltor challenged. That's part of my plan. I want you and Tassie to help us establish relations with the Merle Huddledom, the Confederation of Vitrol, and the Tissaia Nomads. And if you can accept that unpleasant truth the galaxy's past, we can plan your introduction to the Sapient Coalitions. Humans defeated prejudices that were much stronger and more nefarious. So there's no reason that you can't prove yourselves too. We could take you to many worlds, and you can learn so much about what's out there. Do you still want that? I drew a shaky breath. I reckon we want to keep humanity in our quarter. If there's something I can do to help our first impression, I'd never forgive myself if I didn't try. If we didn't try. Naltor's eyes were unwavering, reflecting that there was no room for argument. If you're taking Tassie on a joyride across the galaxy, I wouldn't want to miss out on whatever she learns. I feel obligated to protect Lassman and all Bison's interests. Great. Then I say that... Great. This is the nature of predators, James. Interests. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, Shadow. I mean, with practice and a pronunciation guide I could, but I think I'll still push Bison's interest. Butcher it. And all Bison's interests. Great. Then I say we give it a week or two for your diplomatic call to give us some pointers, and make any advance calls that'll help us. My team can survey reactions to first contact from our outpost to shape our decisions. In the meantime, I can take the two of you to see Earth, to be first Bisons on another planet as our guests. Does that sound like a plan? Dustin asked. I composed myself, finding my resolve. It does. Thank you for giving us the full explanation. It does. It does. Thank you for giving us the full explanation, Dustin. We're glad that Earth survived for us to visit. We're glad that Earth survived for us to visit. We're glad you're willing to give us a chance, even after all that you've learned. I'm excited to see where our friendship will lead. General Naltor tipped his head in acknowledgement before leading the human out of our conference, satisfied with the explanation of the galaxy's history. I ensured that my expression didn't betray shock or sorrow, before following the duo back towards the feast. The Selmore military officer spotted a sniveling Heliska standing with a group of soldiers, and in a rare display of tact, he ferried her into a private room where we'd been, away from the feasting away from the feasting, cameras, and commotion. I tried not to slip into mourning for my dream, when there was still one prospect to be excited about. Friendly aliens had invited me to visit their planet, and that meant in a short time I'd be standing on soil that was light years away from Ivrana. Ingratiating ourselves into the Sapien Coalition might become more daunting than I had ready thought of them. Ingratiating ourselves to the Sapien Coalition might have become more daunting than it already was before, but with the fate of our homeworld on the line, I wasn't backing away from the challenge. End of chapter. Doopy doop. Up doot. Good morning, Aliani. This is Nature Predators, Book 2. Fair enough. Just be aware that it is 40 hours of time. 50 hours. I think. Somewhere around there. It was 100 and close to 200 chapters. Yes. Big stretch. Gotta get my fidgeting in between recording. Cool. Merlin, you talk about book 1 or book 2? Okay. Fair enough. Some stories are great to reread. Some stories are less great to reread. In my opinion. But I mean, that's also personal preference. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators Book 2. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 7. Memory Transcription Subject, Taylor Trench, Human Colonist. Date, Standardized Human Time, March 16th, 2160. Good evening, Peanut. Hope you're doing well. The heart rate monitor beeps were the first sensory input to break through the dreamless fog, bringing me into consciousness. My eyes blinked open, gasping, as my mind felt that I had been buried beneath the sand in the last waking moments. The blue light of the medical clinic hit my vision, and I sat up with hyperventilating breaths. Dr. Abadeo. And I said, Abadeo. Dr. Abadeo was nowhere to be seen, though I recognized her workshop instantly. My head throbbed, wrapped in bandages, and I groaned in discomfort. My fingers scrabbled at the linen sheets, trying to push myself upward. I'm doing as well as can be, Peanut. Oh, that's true. That's true. My fingers scrabbled at the... No, easy, Taylor. Sharice's voice sounded like it was being amplified within my ears. She rushed up from where she'd been sitting on the hollow pad in a visitor's seat. No. She rushed up from where she'd been sitting on her holopad in the visitor's seat. There was an accident in the mines. You were injured. I gritted my teeth. I know. I remember. Help me get up, Benson. I've got to get back to work. We've got to make sure the shipments... That's not happening, Mayor Hathaway said, from where he was quietly hiding in the shadowy corner. The main drill is gone, son. Look around you. We have a lot of folks down, and not nearly enough medical staff available. Gone. That can't be. We're not going to be able to meet Krebs' demands, and there's feck all I can do. While on Earth, there would have been specialists for every condition under the sun. Here we only had a handful of general practitioners, one general surgeon for emergencies. Most surgeries were performed by robots due to understaffing, and a single dentist. I suppose for the last one, we wouldn't want anything happening to our precious canine teeth. Cavities weren't a good shtick. Getting buried alive hadn't hurt half as bad as I thought. Getting buried alive hadn't hurt half as bad as that root canal I had got to get. Man. Getting buried alive hadn't hurt half as bad as that root canal I had to get. Once this generation of medical staff were gone, we'd have to hope someone new trained on the AI courses we brought from Earth. My head slowly lifted from the pillow, with my vision unblurring at last. The light pained me as I vision unblurring at last. The light pained me as it struck my optic nerve, but I forced myself to look around at the bed. There were people in full body casts, with breathing tubes down their throats, with missing limbs and nothing. There were people in full body casts, with breathing tubes down their throats, with missing limbs, or even burned features, like from being too close to the explosion. Considering how I'd only just been making my way away from the control platform, I got it off quite lightly. My mind raced back to the last time I saw Caber, who'd only increased the drill's capacity of my prodding. Where was he? Had I caused this? I couldn't help but feel responsible for the catastrophe, and for destroying any chances of staying on Krebs' hand. Of staying the Krebs' hand. Where's Caber? I pleaded to Sharice, feebly tugging at her hand. Her eyes swelled with water. Caber was killed almost instantly. They're still pulling bodies from the wreckage, but his death has been, confirmed. I'm sorry, Taylor. No, I killed him. How many people are dead? This isn't your fault. How many? Mayor Hathaway lowered his head. 10. 36 more injured, with a third in critical condition. I killed all of them. I never meant any of this to happen. I never meant for any of this to happen. Caber didn't deserve this. He was a good engineer, someone who really cared about the people using our tech. And he's gone. He's fucking gone. I just wanted to save our home. And now, we're for sure. And now we're for sure going to lose this place. The only home we've ever knew. Fuck. I hate everything. The beats from the heart rate monitor quickened as grief manifested and anger threatened to consume me. Brandon Hathaway and Cherise Benson looked on with concern, both exchanging glances with each other. I was surprised the mayor wasn't chewing me out, but all these deaths traced back to me. But all these deaths traced back to my one reckless decision. He must be beyond disappointed when I failed him and all of humanity in such a horrendous way. While I was happy to fall on my sword, I was livid at the Krev for forcing us to push ourselves to such a cold, calculated rigidity. Those Xenofex didn't care about us at all. They were the reason that I had killed my friend. We can't mine anything now, less bodies, no drill. We're so fecked. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I really didn't. Taylor, breathe, Cherise implored me, noticing that I was short of breath. It was an accident. Nobody blames you. I squeezed my eyes shut. I blame me. Kaber warned me that this was past... Kaber warned me that it was past the safety limits, and I told him to push it a bit. And I told him to push it a bit further. I didn't listen, because I want the Krev to take our fecking home. Because I didn't want the Krev to take our fecking home. I thought I'd be fine. Good night, Monin. Have a good one. Thank you for popping past. Our fecking home. I thought it would be fine. I did. There's no fixing it now, Mayor. If you need a scalp for this, I won't fight you. Mayor Hathaway slumped his shoulders. You're right that there's no fixing the drill, but I'm not benching my star player in the mire. But I'm not benching my star player in the 9th innings. If it's anyone's fault, it's mine for ordering you to do whatever it took and dangling a carrot in front of your nose. We both should have seen that there was no producing anything faster. I shouldn't have agreed to give them double in the first place. Cherise was right. I negotiate. Cherise was right. I negotiate with absolutely zero backbone, based on my gut. You have good instincts, son. You have a lot of ambition and charm, too. Back on Earth, you would have made something of yourself. You'd be a company executive, politician, some kind of leader. You're a natural at taking charge and reading people, so I see no reason you weren't right about the Krev. Anyone with half a mind knows they've just been looking for a flimsy of reason as they can... Anyone with half a mind knows they were just been looking as... Anyone with half a mind knows they've just been looking for this flimsy of a reason. Anyone with half a mind knows they've just been looking for as flimsy of a reason as they can to find. Anyone with half a mind knows they've just been looking for as flimsy of a reason as they can find to push us out. And now they will. Kiva died. For nothing. I could have found another way. I could have warned the miners, like he said, so they didn't have a chance to clear out. Cherise tilted her head. You probably could have. Our situation could be worse, though. I might have disagreed with what you had done, but not why you did it. You fight the Krev, and a lot more good people die than who's lying here now. You think the damn militia had a few security officers can stand up to them? I know they can't. And so do I. That's why I'm going to go out there and have a chat, man to man, when Gress shows up in an hour, Hathaway said. Wait, it's already been 3 days. I've been out for that long. I've been out for that fucking long. You have. We were worried about you. Glad you came to before I've got to trek out there. I'm going to tell them the truth about the accident and plead for reprieve. They did display sympathy for us when we first came here, so maybe we can convince them to give us some time. If it comes to it, though, we're just going to leave. There'll be no fighting them. I don't know if we can have it on us to start all over again, but it's the only choice. I snorted in bitterness. The people will be thrilled about that. The people will call it a feckless move. The people will call it a feckless move. But at least they'll be around to spit their criticism. Nobody can take a look at their warships and think that we can win. We stay because they allow it. I'm not sure I'll be able to persuade the Krev to grant us mercy like you. I don't quite have your knack for smooth talking, Taylor. I've still got to try. I can handle it. Let me talk to the Gress, sir. I can handle it. Let me talk to the Gress, sir. I need to do this, after my part in the mess. Absolutely not. Dr. Abadeo wants you to rest. You just awakened from... Dr. Abadeo... After my part... Absolutely not. Dr. Abadeo wants you to rest. You just awakened from being out cold for days, Charisse protested. I'm fine now. You can be right there to help me, Charisse. And if I can't make it, we'll turn right back around. Mayor Hathaway can come too, if he wants to remember what sunlight looks like. Ah, the joys of being human. Hathaway hesitated, squinting at me. You shouldn't be going anywhere, but I won't deny that I need you. I haven't been topside in some time, so I think I'll stay here and stand by, in case anything is needed. You sure you're up for this, Taylor? I am, sir. I am, sir. Just put that blasted mask on, and we'll get going. And we'll be going. Charisse placed a gentle hand on my shoulder, steadying me as I forced myself to sit upright. Her eyes darkened with disapproval at the mayor's agreement. But the mayor was right. Attempting to plead with the Krev and stop them from taking away our sanctuary was the least that I could do. Now wasn't the time for me to be sidelined, and for the Gress to be introduced to someone new. The security guard squinted as I struggled to steady myself, with a ringing in my ears that drove me insane. It was as though I could still feel the explosion rattling my eardrums, and remember landing with my nose down in the dirt. Pull yourself together, Taylor. It takes a few minutes to walk into the elevator from here, straight through the common area and another at the landing pad. The only way to stop people from considering me a Krev bootlicker is to stand up to them, and not to bend over as they can take our homes. And not to bend over so they can take our homes. I won't let them. Not after good people died over their stupid fecking rocks. Mayor Hathaway pursed his lips. I know you feel bad about all of this, Taylor, but this is just the cherry on the top of our entire voyage. I'm not in any way upset with you, and you don't need to prove anything. Call me senile, old man, but it really feels like the universe is out to get us. There's nothing out there that's come easy to us. This is just the newest hurdle. It's not within your power to stop the endless tribulations. I hate the Krebs, sir. That's the only thing I need to keep me going, I murmured. Don't we all? Play nice with their faces. Play nice to their faces, especially now. Whatever you do, do not go playing the hero. Remember what's at stake here. Getting kicked out is a lot better than having our doors kicked in. We can't piss them off. If you can't stop them from booting us out, buy us time as you... Buy us as much time as you can come up with a plan. Buy us as much time as you can to come up with a plan. I understand. That's all we've been doing, buying time for 20 years. For all we know, this is the safest place in the galaxy for us. We always knew that it might come to this. The Krev told us up front that it was a temporary arrangement, and Lord knows we tried to make it otherwise. Our pleas have probably fallen deaf ears. They hate us, like every other alien race. They hate us like every other alien race, Charisse commented. Drain us dry, bleed us for every last penny. Drain us dry, bleed us of every last penny, and then they've got no use for us. As far as I'm concerned, we should get packing. I massaged my dizzy cranium. We're lucky those heartless bastards saw an opportunity to let us land at all, else We would have starved with our supply shortage. Yippee. You're going to try to convince them to spare us. It's about time that we've gotten one act of kindness. For all those Federation pricks accused us of being devoid of empathy. Sometimes it seems like we're the only ones with an ounce of it, Hathaway sighed. Like, at 1% it's starting to feel real pointless, like you said. Like, life at 1% is starting to feel real pointless, like you said. Let's not disrespect. Let's not disrespect the people who gave up everything to send us here. I carry on because my parents sacrificed themselves, so I could get on this ship. My mother had health issues, and the UN limited passenger slots to only those who could bear children who were good in health. And the UN limited passenger slots to only those who could bear children and were in good health. Had to pick and choose to ensure the healthiest progenitors. My dad stayed behind with her. They both wanted me to survive. I remember when they wished me goodbye. Their faces are shadows and figments now, but I can hear their voices in my head. Charisse raised her eyebrows. What are they saying, Taylor? That they'd be proud of me, no matter what came next. That they'd look down on me. No, James. Survivor Becomes Dungeon has started up again. So we'll get there eventually. No matter what came next. That they'd look down on me, and they'd wanted me to be happy. I don't think this is what they dreamed for me. I wonder what all the people from Earth are thinking, if they're watching from some kind of afterlife. I think they're thinking that you're going to talk to the Krev. I think they're thinking that you're going to talk the Krev into taking their heads out of their asses. That if anyone's got this, it's you. Even all banged up and beaten. The mayor nodded. I agree with her. I wish we had more time to strategize, but you've got to get going to the lift. Before the crash. Before the crash gets you. Don't want him getting restless legs. You need anything, or Taylor unwell. You need anything, or if Taylor's unwell, you call me, Benson. Understood. We're off, Buzzcut. Understood. Understood. We're off, Buzzcut. 1 foot in front of the other. I'm right here. I limped out of the medical clinic, past a few other patients lying in recovery. My mouth felt numb and dehydrated, as the balloon expanded within my skull beat me up. As the balloon expanding within my skull beat me up, Dr. Abadeo strolled back out of the operating suite and began chasing me with alarm. The mayor stepped in, running interference on her as she attempted to contain me. My steps quickened with determination, though the vertigo made my balance a bit precarious. Aches and pains plagued me across my body. I imagined it would be worse from an exertion. Good night, Apex. Hope you sleep well. Me across my body. And pains plagued me across my body. I imagined it would be worsened from any exertion, but I was willing to sacrifice myself for humanity. If my parents had the strength to send off their only child so he could survive, I could be strong enough to face Gress. One gesture of genuine nobility. Gress wasn't very understanding about the 3-day buffer. How can we expect him to give us an indefinite hiatus? After a previous extension, it's clear that the Krev can't stand us and don't care about our problems. I didn't see an angle to stand on. Charisse brought me a change of clothes, something more suitable for an outdoors than a hospital gown. My eyes roved across the common area, where studio apartments much like my own were cut into the rock face, and I inhaled the scent of burning meat for what might be the last time. We hid the lab-grown meat factories underground, deep in the bunker's recesses. We couldn't have the Krev getting wind that we were flesh eaters. There were a handful of restaurants cut into the shop. There were a handful of restaurants cut into the shop alcoves in the center pillar, which divided the walking space into a chunky medium. They were all devoted to keeping the culinary delights of Earth alive, a small taste of home and our cultures. Cherise's uncle worked at the Bistro pub, a place I really wished I could collapse and get a drink right about now. My head was swimming in nausea, and it was all I could do not to keel over right there. It felt as though I'd jogged a marathon, despite how I'd barely stepped outside the med clinic. I needed some time. I needed some kind of injection of energy. My thoughts harkened back to the hatred of the Krev, and for my part, the entire disaster that forced us into this predicament. My steps became more sure-footed as I staggered to the elevator. Cherise presented 2 masks with keys bound around them. "How many times have we done this together, Taylor?" "Too fucking many," I sighed. "If this is the last time we take this ride together, humanity will probably got a few extra years on this planet because of you. Some things just aren't meant to be. Slim comfort, that is. At least we don't have to lie in the miners. At least we don't have to lie to the miners now. There's no ore to be given to anyone. We'll see if the grass can get that through their thick skull." I managed to place a cloth mask over Cherise's head before she fitted mine into place. It concealed our eyes, but normally we could see through it. Right now, I felt like I was suffocating me, just like the sand that poured from the cavern had done. Hearkened to the harsh light that was searing my brain should have been a welcome reprieve, but it was difficult to make out anything through any interference. To make out anything through any interference. None of my moment-to-moment existence felt right, beyond the standards resentment of having to hide my eyes from the watching clouds. I wondered what the doctor had diagnosed me with. The security guard locked my mask and stuffed the key in her pocket. I mirrored her actions, recognizing that there was no going back now. It was no further to the landing pad. It was no further to the landing pad than it was to turn around and stagger back to the medical clinic. That would just leave me moping in bed, feeling powerless over the Krev would do. Feeling powerless over what the Krev would do. More than I already did. If I couldn't stay upright for a few minutes with humanity's future on the line, then what kind of person was I? With trembling fingers, I twisted the key back into the guard's mask. I managed to pick up the secondary fabric left for my use and wrap it around my own skull half-heartedly. It partially blocked my view due to my poor placement. Cherise gave me a concerned head tilt before grabbing a cane from the control room. "Here, this belongs to Miss Cortez, but I don't think she'll miss it for a few minutes. I still don't think that you should be going up here. If you're going to go, though, if you are going to, you should use this. Something to lean on." I accepted the walking aid with a sigh. "I thought that something was you." "At that point, I might as well carry you on my back. Imagine what the grass will think at that sight." "I'd love for the grass to make a comment, so that I can whack him with... so that I can whack that smug look off his face. Please, let's get going. I don't have much left in the tank." "All right, Taylor. Just take it easy. Talking isn't my game, but I'll jump in to help you if needed." "I can handle the talking. It's getting up there that's the problem. Come on." Cherise signaled to the control room, and our watches unsealed. Yes, James. It's from 2 different perspectives. Excuse me, big stretch. The first book did this a lot as well. It would jump around between different people. Come on. Come on. Cherise signaled to the control room, and our watchers unsealed the barrier to the elevator without hesitation. I took several deep breaths as the lift came to our call. The upward motion immediately intensified my disorientation, and my hands clumped around the cane. What was I going to say to the Crest beyond a desperate plea, as Mayor Hathaway had advised me? I couldn't let aliens send us packing again after everything that we'd built here. Humanity was here on this planet to stay, if there was anything that I could do about it. I wasn't taking no for an answer. End of chapter. Righty. I'm going to let this process. I'm just going to quickly step away. Going to add some music and give you a chair. Sorry about that. Headphones pulled out as well. Phew. Book one, I think for the most part, you don't necessarily need to read it for reading book two so far. He's done quite a good job of giving a brief overlay of what's happened so far. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, had to take a quick jog upstairs. All right, just letting the heart rate decrease, relaxing the muscles. Don't think this is going to be a terribly long stream. I think we should definitely pass the 2-hour mark, but it's definitely not going to be 3 hours. Yawn. Okay, on to the next one. I haven't been awake that long. 4 hours. 3 hours. 3.5 hours. So I woke up at 7. Ish. Alrighty. I think we'll move on to the next chapter. Greetings, ladies and metal-giants, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators Book 2. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 8. Memory transcription subject, Taylor Trench, human colonist. Date, standardized human time, March 16th, 2160. Sunlight from above compounded my headache, as I tried to think of what I'd say to Gress. Each step against sandy ground felt as though there was nothing beneath my feet, and the bones holding me upright felt like nothing substantive at all. And the bones holding me upright felt like And the bones holding me upright felt like nothing substantive. And the bones holding me upright felt nothing substantive of And the bones holding me upright felt like nothing substantive as well. At all. And the bones holding me upright felt nothing substantive at all. What I knew was that the Krev had never given us a break before. So this would be a singular occasion if they did demonstrate they cared about our lives at all. We didn't deserve the hatred and the callousness they showed to us. We didn't deserve the hatred and callousness they showed us. I could feel the warm breath. I could feel the warm breath dampening the cloth near my lips, the mask hiding my scratched up features. I found my mind wandering during the punishing walk, thinking about how much of the opulence we'd enjoyed on Earth was gone forever. Thinking about how much of the opulence we'd enjoyed on Earth was gone forever. Mayor Hathaway called me out for the old Earth songs that we came up with, but there weren't exactly record labels or studios here to create new anything. Not movies, not TVs, not books, nor paintings, nor music. There were perhaps 3 or 4 musicians that had played. There were perhaps 3 or 4 musicians that play on the streets as a hobby, but there were no full-time entertainers. Everyone needed to directly contribute to the city. The biggest events of the years were the school plays, which turned out thousands of the live entertainment. Which turned out thousands for the live entertainment. I still remembered auditioning to play Hamlet and winding up playing King Claudius instead. Half a millennium and hundreds of stars away, the bard's work survives. It's funny, because I used to wonder why they taught us the arts at all. Miss Quisp was right when she said that when we stop creating, we stop being human. Have we stopped being human without our expression? I remembered what the subject taught us in school. Where we'd made a few crude instruments that children could tinker with, as some semblance of our heritage. My fingers twitched in real time, recalling the fluid movements I'd learned against the piano. Sometimes I found myself walking down there to play a mournful piece. Those were bygone days, though, and it wouldn't demonstrate my loyalty to the colony. I didn't apply to be a teacher, after all, and we all had our roles. There were other things, with more substance. Because of our small population, it was agreed that the next generation needed to share a language, which, after much debate, was set to English. Which, after much debate, was set as English. Secondary languages were optionally available under AI instruction for cultural preservation. Yep, I prefer to finish books once they're done. Cultural preservation. Okay. Caffeine Fury has arrived. With Twix. So it's caffeine and chocolate fairy. You remember Crescento? You remember Crescento, Cherise, I croaked, struggling to place one foot in front of the other. He refused to take a job, wrote stories, sent them around on holopads. I liked his one story, where he found a way to make ourselves invisible. Mayor threatened to kick him out if he didn't work. Then he was too tired to write. Dried up, just like we all dry up. The security guard escorting me jostled my elbow. You're delirious, Taylor. Maybe we should turn back. Back off with that shit. We already made it this far. I've just been thinking about how little career diversity there is. Because of the crib, we all have to work towards the colony. There's only a few thousand of us. We don't have influencers or professional athletes anymore. Imagine spending your life playing a game. Wouldn't fulfill me, but it sounds more fun than our lives. Sounds a lot more fun than our life. Us, adults, should have a pickup soccer game in the streets for old times, like the kids do. I thought we finally agreed to call it football, and to use the metric system. We stopped calling it soccer, and American culture is dead forever. I guess. Charisse failed to react in time as my legs gave out, and I face planted into the dirt. My head nearly collided with a cane. Somewhere along the way, my grip on the walking aid had loosened so much that it was ineffectual. I cursed my weakness, getting wrapped up in old memories, getting wrapped up in old memories during a pivotal time. Sand would be smeared all over my outfit when we reached the landing pad. The security guard placed a hand on my back while using the other arm to slowly lift me. I struggled to all fours and limped onwards like a keel. And limped onward while keeled over. Are you all right, Taylor? You can't meet the grass like this. We shouldn't have let you go in the first place, Charisse shouted. My eyes rolled back in my head as I saw the landing pad in reach. I can hear his ship walking this hard, blah blah. I can hear his ship walking is the hard part. I can't blah blah. Blah 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 blah. I can talk just fine. Maybe if he sees me like this, it puts it in perspective. Assuming good old Gress gives a rat's ass about me. I'm not convinced they feel anything towards us. Remember how that Krev tried to take advantage of us last time we came to bargain? I know we don't have any negotiating power. We have no choice but to hope they feel something. For once, we could use some fucking help. I think he'll hear in my voice how awful that accident was. How terrible I feel about letting our obligations to our How terrible I feel about letting our obligations to our landlords exceed workers' safety, partially for personal gain. I'm a dick, really. It's my fault. Whatever you say, and I'm going to fix it. The guard touched her ear with a frown. Mayor Hathaway is saying that you need to pull yourself together, that you can't be moping around out of guilt right now. He also says that if you collapse again, I'm taking you back, and he's coming up here himself. Already suiting up. Brandon's the one who said he needed me, so let me do what's necessary. I'm not a fucking quitter. Get me to the pad, and I'll do my job. I know my orders. You were seriously injured, and other people were killed. I have all my limbs, and you think that I can make them work for 10 minutes. Give me a break. I have all my limbs, and you'd think I could get them to work for 10 minutes. Give me a break. We need to talk after this. I've never seen you like this in years, Taylor. I'm worried about your stability, and I don't think you should be anywhere near the Krev. We take you to the landing pad, and you're sitting down and saying few lines. Don't you dare undermine me in front of the Cress. Don't you dare undermine me in front of Gress, Charisse. Your job is to protect me and hold a fucking gun, not to schmooze these bastards like you're suddenly a diplomat. You know what? You are being a total arsehole. I'll let you slide because you're hurting. I'll let it slide because you're hurting and not right upstairs. But you're not going to take it out on me again. Are we clear? Crystal. I managed to shuffle the last few steps to the landing pad before setting my backside down on a crate with relief. My head definitely was causing some issues in my basic functions, but I could think clearly enough to know what I needed to tell Gress. In a world where the Krev could empathize, and have any pity on a predator's culture, I'd spit back everything I'd been ruminating on in my own mind, about the lost arts in the shell of a life. That was the one thing that we could never tell aliens with side-facing eyes. We remembered how the prey life forms had reacted to what we were before. There wasn't much I knew about the Krev consortium, other than they had some vague notion that it was a collection of the Krev and 5 other species, conveniently all prey. Why are they the only ones so unlucky? Why are we the only ones so unlucky to have our eyes in this position? Why did it have to matter so much that the entire Federation couldn't bear to look at us? These masks are hiding that we are monsters, repugnant monsters to everyone up in the stars. I thought back to the wounded human faces in the infirmary, bearing wounds, hiding all of the tumultuous emotions that coursed through my own blood. Some of the binocular eyes that I knew from the small settlement were closed forever because of an accident, and I couldn't forget that. I couldn't unsee the mental images, even the ones that hadn't laid my eyes on myself. Friends and colleagues, the last of our near-extinct species, the last hope for the Homo sapiens lineage to continue. All we built turned to dust eventually, no matter how we struggled. I sped along our society crumbling. Yep. Oh yeah. Boomer juice. To wet the whistle. And a Twix. Oh, that's good. It's always good to buy something if it benefits others. If you can afford it, obviously. Oh, yeah, perfectly balanced meal. One chocolate in each hand. I sped along our society crumbling, and ruined our final chance at staving off extinction. Nobody could tell me otherwise. Nobody could convince me that I didn't deserve the wounds I was bearing right now. I had to convince Gress, and I'd do it by any means necessary. We couldn't get evicted from our home by aliens again. The crab vessel touched down, as I'd watched it do so many times, with graceful engines that were left running for our rent collector's quick getaway. The green-scaled mammal marched down the landing ramp like he owned the entire world, which, as far as his kinds were concerned, he did. I curled my lip beneath my mask at the sight of his gnashing tail. I wanted to wring my hands close around his neck. I wanted to wring my hands around his neck and make him pay for all the guilt that was eating me up. Instead, I just watched as he spotted us and stalked over to our position with disdain. Did you not know that I was coming? Why are your supply crates not waiting again after you're all quite tardy? Crev spat. I inhaled sharply. Hello, Gress. I stand up to greet you, but I'm afraid I'm not quite well. I've been advised by our medical staff not to be here, actually. Yet I thought that it was too important for me to try and smooth things over, with you not show up. You do not look well. You look as though that you can hardly sit up, Taylor. If I didn't recognize your voice, I wouldn't know it was you. I'll understand if you were... I'll understand if you were to require a different representative for the handoff, and I hope that your medical issues clear up. That doesn't change the demands for the supplies. I threw my hands up in the air, looking defeated. I'll level with you, but please, let me explain before you say anything. The supplies aren't coming. I was overseeing our mining operation to ensure that everything was going to schedule, and we generated what you needed. We pushed ourselves too far. There was an accident. I sustained head injuries when I was nearly buried alive. Others died. We can't get your ore, not for a long time, with our drill in tatters and our workforce eviscerated. I have no choice but to plead for mercy. I see. There was a brief hint of something in his eyes, which resembled sympathy. It was never the crab's wishes for any lives to be lost. I'm sorry for what has happened to you. By the sound of what I'm hearing came from your mouth. By the sound of what I'm hearing come from your mouth, you wish for us to let you stay for free. Because of your misfortune. This is after we haven't hunted you. Because of your misfortune. This is after we haven't wanted you on our world for a long time. I know that. But the accident happened. It was out of our control, or we would have given you everything. We need any mercy, no matter how granular. It doesn't have to be free. We could do something else, anything else, as long as we can fit it, our labor. As long as we can fit it or labor on the As long as we can fit it or labor on it below ground. We just need time to repair the drill, and we can resume regular payments. We could renegotiate, so it could be beneficial over a long run.
The long run? How does that suit our purposes at all? When what we want is your departure in motion. These payments haven't been cutting the trouble you humans are for a long time. For a long time. You are intruders in our space, and you always have been.
I know you feel that way, but please, if you truly feel sympathy for the tragedy we've incurred, something we have no way of fixing, give us some reprieve, or at least some some proposal to work with us. Don't throw grieving families out, some with children, from the only homes they have ever known, because one thing went wrong with our deal in 20 years. You might think we're trouble, and think these masks make us untrustworthy because of our cultural differences. But we've always met our pact before now. We're just trying to make a living, a life. I know we failed you, Gress, and I'm asking for mercy anyway. The Krev paced for several seconds, at least making a show of seeming conflicted. Therese's body language relaxed slightly, reflecting some hope that my plea might have gotten through to the snippy Gress. I wasn't going to set any unrealistic expectations, since our overlords hadn't ever shown us emotional consideration before. The most we'd gotten from them was being taken advantage of, when we had no choice but to land on this colony. Oh, wonder. The most we'd gotten from them was being taken advantage of, when we had no choice but to land on this colony. Oh wonder, they let us land. I guess we were supposed to kiss their asses and sing their praises forever.
Let me level with you, Taylor. I'm sorry that what happened with you and your people. Let me level with you, Taylor. I'm sorry of what happened with your people, but I have orders to see you removed within the year, or unfired, which would be fine by me, frankly, since I never wanted this posting. But I was given it because they trusted me to put an end to this saga. Gress sighed. I'm not the type to kick people when they're down, no matter what's happened between us. So I have a proposal. Take me to the site of this accident to see it with my own eyes, and I'll request for the consortium to give you a bit more time.
Yes, they're definitely Richards.
More time.
I stiffened with this belief. What? You want us to take you into our city? You want us to take you into our city?
I do. What I'll accept as payment is some hint of transparency. I'll give you the alternative to take off your mask here and now and look me in the eye. You think we haven't figured out it's not important to your culture at all? How doubt they treated your wounds with that shit covering your skull? How doubt they culture at all? Or culture at all? I doubt they treated your wounds with that shit covering your skull.
You don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, there are special circumstances, but we don't show our faces. It would be a disgrace.
If that is true, then what's the issue with taking me through your settlement to the mines? I want to know something real about you people, to see how you live, and to see what happened, so that I can make my own judgment on whether you deserve mercy. Take me to the accident, or I'll carry out my government's will. Your choice. Cherise tightened her fingers on her rifle. That's not possible, Gress. We don't like outsiders seeing our private lives. Then I have no reason to help you people. You have—
Wait, I interjected. Maybe we can arrange something. We probably could show you some pictures of the site.
You and I both know— You and I both know that photographs can be doctored to show whatever you like. Seeing it confirms your story beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, then, maybe you can give us time to bring out a bag so that we, can cover your vision on the way and clear out any workers. We could walk you down to the mine. Good morning, Ibian. Hope you're doing well. To the mine.
Why do you need to clear out any workers? Because you don't actually wear those goofy outfits down in your cities. And you just hide yourself from us. Take me straight down there, like any normal society, or don't bother.
I can't, Grass. My people will never give permission for that. I'd be considered a traitor to all humanity. Please, give us some option that doesn't violate our privacy and the very spirit of our traditions.
I'm done driving. I'm done giving you anything. You've hidden yourselves enough to show that you don't trust or respect us at all. This right here is why we can't fecking stand you, and why I'm not sticking my neck out for you. You have 1 week to get off our planet, or we will remove you by force. You got that?
No, wait. You can't do that. Please, just give us a week to meet and discuss how we'll handle our departure. We need time to plan it. We just suffered a catastrophe. We've been here for years.
The Krev snorted. I gave you a chance. You spit in our faces like you always do, behind those two-faced words you'd love to throw at us. Goodbye, Taylor. I can't say I'll miss you.
Gress turned around back towards his ship with an arrogant swagger in his step. Cherise gasped in horror, at a loss for words. The mayor seemed to be passing something along to her earpiece, though I couldn't imagine what he could have said that I didn't. Those heartless aliens hadn't spared us at all, after we'd laid our hearts bare to them. Gaber's face flashed through my mind, panicking as he tried to shut down the draw. An intelligent, dedicated young man who was dead because I put the greedy Xeno's interests ahead of the human life. I could still feel my nose being pressed into the dirt as though I'd suffocated alive. I could remember my final thoughts of regrets and the horror when I awoke to find that we'd had no choice. And the horror when I awakened to find that we'd have no chance. My head was swimming, even now, from the aftermath of the wounds, leaving me in a sorry state that didn't move Gress at all. What? At all. Would that Krev have cared if I died, if hundreds of humans died? My fingers tightened around the cane in rage, before, with a sudden rush of adrenaline, I found myself stomping after the rent collector on steady feet. I swung the walking stick. I swung the walking aid back, and before Cherise could react, I clobbered it against the back of his skull. The Krev emitted a startled shriek, which cut off as he crumpled into an unconscious ball. Steaming with white-hot, blinding fury, I brought the cane back for another swing. Cherise's arms dragged me away with desperation. I could barely hear her pleas for me to stop. All I could see was Kaber's face. In the last moments, I saw him alive, and that suffocating sensation. I couldn't clear my mind. I couldn't clear from my mind. Security guard Benson finally got a handle on me, wrestling me to the ground. My burst of strength fizzled in an instant, as I laid on my side, immobile. What the fuck did you just do? Hathaway screaming it, and I'm fecking agree with him, Cherise shouted. We can't go to war with them, Taylor. You know that. What you just did could really get us all killed. I blinked, shameful tears welling up in my eyes. Feck, Gress,
Gress is out cold. He's not waking up anytime soon. And now we can't let him go. And now we can't let him go. We all have to find a way to fix this. Hathaway, send medics. We need someone to carry Gress while he's still out, down to a private infirmary. Bring someone to help Taylor get back, too. We should have never let him out like this. I sucked in several dazed breaths, processing the gravity of what I'd just done, assaulting Gress. Charisse was correct that we couldn't have the Krebs return to his home and tell these people that we physically attacked him. That could mean war between our people. The only thing I could think of was that we needed to hurry up and leave before search party came looking for the rent collector. Maybe it was still possible to get some information out of Gress and persuade him to call off the dogs. As I waited for the medics to arrive, I desperately racked my brain for any possible way to correct my colossal mistake. This had only worsened the prior burden of guilt over how I'd ruined humanity's chances on Tellus. End of chapter. Well, he done fucked up. He done fucked up big. Boomer juice. Oh, glorious boomer juice. Yeah, no. That is very much the mayor's fault. Oh, ow. Trying to scratch my shoulder and ripped out the headphones. Okay, on to the next chapter. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's narration of The Nature of Predators Book 2. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. Memory transcription subject, Tassie, Bison scientist. Date, standardized human time, March 17th, 2170. After the conclusion of the feast, Rasman's government scrambled preparations for what we needed to bring to Earth. In the span of a few hours, Naltor and I were briefed on the administration's official policy, while the diplomatic corps were left to assist the Sapien Coalition in establishing relations with our other nations. I wasn't sure what their final assessment and dossiers to the aliens would look like, but with Dunstan confirming that our oceanic status was dire, I hoped that collective threat would bring us together.
to work on a solution. Fishing and water were the gifts to our species, like Hiliska said, and watching it slip from our grasp was good wood. Fishing and water were the gifts to our species, like Hiliska said, and watching it slip from our grasp for good would be shameful. If dooming of Rana wasn't enough incentive, visitors from another world were awakening to buy some similarities with each other. Visitors from another world were an awakening. Visitors from another world were an awakening by some similar. Visitors from another world were an awakening to buy some similarities with each other as well. I haven't been following the diplomatic side of things too thoroughly, but it looks like the Thafki running off has led to wild speculation on social media and from foreign powers. Even Naltor agrees that repeating what Dustin said to us in public would be ill-advised. Yet our silence makes us all look guilty. The landing party informed us that it would be a 3-day ride to Earth. On the edge of our galactic arm. It was mind-bogglingly. It was mind-boggling to grasp that they could traverse what was apparently over 300 light years in such a short span. A shorter journey than it would seem. A shorter journey that it would have been for us to travel to our moon. I buckled myself into the seat, trusting the aliens' technology implicitly. It had ferried them here with success, so there was no reason to mistrust its efficacy. Questions raced in my head about how the warp drive worked. Newly a simplified explanation of it bending space was insufficient for my curiosity. What it would feel like. What it would feel and look like when it kicked into effect, and whether the technology would be passed along to the Bisons. One day, this could be a normalized mode of travel for us as well, if the aliens were willing to share. I knew that Dustin was mindful about cultural side effects, from interfering with our natural development, but I believe that would gift these wonders to us in time. But I believed that they would gift us these wonders in time. The humans said that they wanted us to join the galactic community. There would be nothing I delight in more than to wander the galaxy and gaze upon new civilizations. While I was bursting with excitement and frenetic theories as early as liftoff, Nalto displayed more apprehension. The Selmur general had been mindlessly applying waterproof oil from his tail gland, despite the fact that we could be nowhere near water in the stars. Not even a hardened military man was immune to the majesty of a runner from above. The orange expanse of the algae blue motions, mixing with the greens of the landmass and the whites of the Molay Huddledum's polar ice caps, were more evocative than any work of canvas. Than any work on a canvas. General Nalto had never shared my ecstasy at the visitor's arrival. I believed he signed on to go to Earth out of fear that I was putting myself in danger, as well as duty to report what he saw for Bison's safety. However, ascending up from the globe that encompassed our entire society, the entirety of our lives and knowledge, Nalto's eyes grew moist. It was breathtaking in a way that would only be mocked by pictures. The emotions that washed over me as I gazed out the window at my home were exactly how the Tisea astronauts who first orbited our world described them. Seeing the stars stretching out into infinity behind Avrana, I felt unspeakably small, and more attached to Bisons from all parts of the globe than ever before. It was as though, for an instant, my consciousness was merged
My consciousness was merged with everyone who'd lived during my species' existence. Here, in this moment, we were one entity. No. Even our precious world was so small in the infinite blackness. I wanted nothing more than to preserve Ivrana, to avoid destroying the rock that had given us the abundance of beauty and gifts. Getting each bison nation on board with Dustin's mission was something I would die for. It's surreal to think how far away we are from Ivrana, I murmured to the obfuscated viewport. I murmured to the obfuscated viewport, still lost in that liftoff experience from days ago. I didn't know how I'd ever got used to casually chatting with aliens or playing our board games. Heliska loved the Tesea game Migration with them. Dustin says... Dustin says that we will be reaching Earth within the hour. We're crossing into the system now. Dustin says we'll be reaching Earth within the hour. We're crossing into their system now. Apparently, they get a ton of starship traffic. The amount of people moving through space, coming and going. I could sit and watch them at the spaceport. I could stick around just in that building. Nalto fixed me with a hard scowl, trying to disguise his apprehension at our locale. We have much more important tasks than sightseeing, Tassie. I appreciate that you're completely oblivious to our helplessness, but we've been at their mercy since they boarded. But we've been at their mercy since we boarded the ship. There'll be no one coming to rescue us if they decide to hold us hostage or to turn on us. Then what option do we have but to trust them? They trusted us landing on Ivrana. There's no reason to expect Earth won't be hospitable. They welcome all sorts of aliens. Not carnivals. You should have seen the looks the Lassian generals gave me when I explained that if we reached out a few decades earlier, the entire galaxy would have wished us killed. Dustin's kind assimilated those same species, with hostile intentions towards us, into their coalition ranks. We can say the threats are diplomatic, but there is nothing more dangerous than prejudice. I'll agree with that, the human said from behind us, causing us both to jump. Sorry to intrude. I wanted to brief you on some technology and my plans for the tour. Heliska trundled up to our adults sheepishly. I know that I've said it before, but I apologize for my behavior at the feast. You shouldn't have had to grapple with this. You shouldn't have had to grapple with this so soon, and it's because of my weakness, my failure to handle this like we all prepared for and agreed upon. With what happened to the Thafki and our habits bringing you reminders of that, I can understand, I answered. If I had known, I would have made sure the feast never happened. The last thing we wanted was to put you in the center of a negative attention, all because you were under duress during a happy occasion. You're polite, Doctor, but it's your planet, your culture. I thought I was over it from videos and simulations, but in person, with all the sensory input, my mind betrayed me. I failed my entire team and left them to cover for me. I also wandered on your world without permission. All I can say is how deeply ashamed and regretful I am. They were going to find out sooner or later, Hallie, Nulia chimed in. It was inevitable. If they were never to meet other SE members... if they were to ever meet the other SE members. General Nalto, I sympathize with your anxieties, but we haven't brought you here to the galaxy's beating heart to hurt you. Dustin bobbed his head. You might be on our world, but if you need anything at all, just ask. You're not helpless. We're taking you to the Embassy Row in Vienna, so that you can catch a glimpse of her many different species. We hope Bisons will open your wone in due time. You know we're welcome. You know you're welcome and safe here. The humans are proud of their friends they've acquired. This is much like the feast the Bisons threw for us, by intention, Heliska commented. It is. We've made arrangements in an absolutely top-notch luxurious hotel, brought in chefs tailored to suit your exact palates, and brought in float boats, tight boxes, and brought in float beds, tight boxes, and smooth beds, much nicer than the economical options we've added here. If you're not grateful, you might even enjoy yourself, Naltor. The Selma scowled. I doubt it. This isn't a vacation. It could be. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone what you're up to. You can act dutiful with your superiors. Actually, I know just what you need to unwind. Take a scented bubble bath in that absolutely ridiculous-sized tub. I can see you want to. You think you're funny, don't you? I think I'll get a laugh out of you one of these days, Naltor. No need to hold it back. We humans have a saying. Laughter is the best medicine.
Here I was thinking that you discovered antibiotics. Maybe you need our help.
I like that spirit, Dustin chuckled. I placed my flippers on my beak with horror. I'm glad you did, because Naltor should not be throwing out sarcasm and disrespectful assertions. If that didn't translate,
then they throw me out of an airlock, the Selma general lamented. It'd be my lucky day.
Nobody's getting thrown out of any airlock. There's enough space debris around Earth, Nulia quipped, and Naltor barely muffled his cackle with a flipper. Now, before we land, why don't we have a conversation about how you two will communicate? I squinted for a moment before landing on the obvious realization. With people who don't speak Rit, I thought you had a separate translator in plants, though. We do. That's what we wanted to talk about. Naltor's brief glimmer of personality waned as Heliska grabbed what looked like a dart gun. The general flinched, finding himself worried once more about the aliens' intentions. I looked on with more curiosity, not sensing any threats within their behaviors. This must be linked to the translator somehow. So I could venture. They wanted us to receive an implant. The Thafki seemed to be the one who was trained for the procedure, despite how I couldn't imagine that they would harm us. It looked painful. Something as sharp and as pointy. Something as sharp and pointy as that would be a tough sell to any bison. I'm not a fan of needles in general, though who really is? That piercing feeling after they pull apart your feathers to get your skin. After they pull apart your feathers to get to your skin, I want to be briefed on the risks and how it works before going along. And how it works before I go along with having that embedded in my neck. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. That's the portable ones. The machine that the doctors purposely took.
I know what you're thinking. That's the portable ones. The machine that the doctors purposely look much less aggressive, Dustin said. Before you freak out, Naltor, you don't have to. It's an option. The concise version is, the people on Earth won't speak your language. They'll be able to understand yours from our database, but you won't be able to hear theirs.
I drew a deep breath. I believe what the aliens are saying is that if we go forward with this, it'll be a one-way conversation. All these three will be our messengers. We have audio translators that can spit out words in another language. It'll be inconvenient and slower, but you can have physical, external machines pass along words in Rit, Nulia answered. Dustin pursed his lips.
The translator implants provide a seamless conversation as you process the words you're hearing. Instantaneous. You'll be able to have it removed or turned off at any point. This isn't a permanent decision, or one that presents any risks to your welfare. The procedure is quick and non-invasive.
It is our recommendation for the best experience with a multitude of languages, foreign and human, that you'll encounter on Earth, Heliska added. All three of us have one.
Naltor stared at the floor, face contorted in a grimace. You can't be asking me to stick alien technology right next to my brain. You outright said that if it messes with my brain, you could control me, like a damn horror movie.
That's not how that works. But if that was our intention, we could have done it by force, Dustin remarked. We only want to help you with this visit, and all diplomatic interactions. Being able to understand our language means that you won't have to be...
Being able to understand our language means that you won't be. Yeah. Being able to understand our language means you won't be shut out from our broadcasts and data. You're trying to tell me that it could be valuable to Lasman and to the FAI, I replied. Dustin's right. For me, the opportunity to engage with aliens and their media is too great to pass on. It opens the door to watch their movies, listen to their songs, chat with them, everything about their culture. Had our flipper tips. Tassie, you're being reckless. Whatever you think of whatever you think of their intentions, it's untested on Bisons. I don't care. You can do what you want, Naltor, but I'm here to learn about them. I trust them. Please, get it over with quickly, Leska. The Thafki nodded, approaching me with caution. I noticed the nerves returning as she moved into close proximity to me. Was it genuine concern in her mind that I might eat her if she drew too clear? If she drew too near? I wasn't sure how I'd ever wrap my around her. I wasn't sure how I'd ever wrap my mind around that. Perhaps I could take a look at the historical records after receiving that implant and see after receiving the implant and see how people from the time spoke about meat eaters. I closed my eyes, blocking out an alarmed expression on Naltor's face. There was no telling what this would feel like and how it would interface with my biology, but the risks were beyond worth it for me. But the risks were beyond worth it to me. Other FAI scientists would be envious of the position I'd be placed in. I just don't want to see it coming, or have a brace for it. Sit still, so I don't spook Hallie and have anything go awry. There was a strange electric sensation, as if something was numbing the nerves. It was unsettling and peculiar, but not painful. I could hear Naltor squawking with disgust, and his webbed feet smacking the floor in alarm. Something tickled right beneath my skin, as though a small piece of film was applied against it. The area went frigid with the sudden absence of any sensation, and it was as though nothing was there. I couldn't feel anything at all. That couldn't have been the entire injection from that giant drill that hadn't stung in the slightest, contrary to what I had imagined. Eliska pressed a sticky patch to my neck and covered a gash. Soft digits tapped my shoulder, causing my eyes to blink open. Hey, Tassie, you did great. It's all over. Tell me, do you understand what I'm saying now? The last words were guttural barks that I'd never heard before, accentuated with hisses and drawn-out sounds. I could hear the distinction between Dustin's words in Brit and these in what must be his native tongue. However, it was as though I understood them retroactively. The meaning was placed into my mind as if someone was editing my interpretation live. It was disquieting to feel an outside force tampering with my experience of consciousness, and it took me several seconds to adjust to that alien sensation. How did the first contact team or anyone who accepted these machines get used to it? I understand you, I croaked. Perfectly. Don't worry, you get used to it after a brief adjustment period. Dustin placed a hand atop my flipper, still speaking in his human language. You won't even notice it after a few hours. Pinky promise. The main caveat is, while it is decent at semantic translations, it can be a little off at times. What the fuck is he saying? Naltor spat. Tassie, is he giving you instructions for a new life as a mindless drone? I rubbed the injection site with my flipper. The feeling it's like there's a disconnect between what I feel and what I think. Dustin just said I'll just adjust. Dustin just said I'll adjust to it after a few times, and that it uses semantic, and that it uses semantic translations. He said all that. Really? Hear for yourself, Eliska murmured, unless you want to spend every conversation wondering what's being said. I watched you drill it in her head, like you were boring a hole in Ivrana's core. I do not know how she wasn't screaming. My eyes narrowed at the description. Believe it or not, it didn't even hurt, Naltor. It just tickled.
I still feel like myself, and it seems to work.
How do you know if you're still you, Tassie? That's the entire fucking point.
I recognize your fear. But it's time to move on, Rasman. Vrana is counting on us both. We're representing our whole species, on our first steps off-world, so I'd say communicating is pretty damn important. Like Dustin said, if they wanted to harm us, they could have ambushed us. We're at their mercy.
Fine. I guess I won't bother resisting. But if I turn into a killing machine, I want a note in my obituary that says that it was your shitty idea.
Nalto's flippers folded at... Nalto folded his flippers together, trying to hide how bulky his form was. Nalto folded his flippers together, trying to hide how his bulky form was quivering. I imagine the Salmor wished his military greeting party had tagged along on our joyride. Heliska sanitized the injection gun diligently before walking over to the larger baseman with a slight boost in confidence. The general flinched as a paw brushed his neck feathers. I wondered when he'd get over his terror of what these aliens might do to us. My bravado froze in its tracks. As the Thafki lanced through his skin, it did look visceral from the outside, enough that Dustin and Nulia looked away. My eyes were glued to the scene, as it corkscrewed deeper before the metal point rose from the gap.
You're reading. Time for your orders, Nalta.
Dustin teased in the human tongue. The Salmon looked both mortified and disconcerted as the meaning hit his ears.
I command you to take that bubble bath when you reach the hotel. You also must think that I'm handsome, charming, and that my expertise in xenobiology speaks wonders to my character.
The Salmon's eyes bulged.
Feck you. It's like you're speaking inside my head, like I'm lagging behind what's being said. And like my ears aren't matching my mind. I don't like this. It's creepy as feck.
Like I told Tassie, it'll eventually be like it's not even there. It'll just be another step in the auditory process. Give it time.
It's already a little less
It's already a little less jarring, I mentioned. Thanks for your patience. Heliska wiggled her half-circle ear. Thank you for trusting us and me to perform... to perform this procedure, especially after my previous interactions with Bisoms. I hope it'll improve your trip to Earth and your interactions with all species. The more we understand each other, the better. Now you can live here. Now you can people watch us, like I did with you, Lydia exclaimed. The vessel dropped out of the subspace, as if on cue, a fluid transition to overlooking a picturesque blue globe. Cloud wisps were visible from space, while even its central continent seemed to have more barren patches than Nirvana. From the darkened half of the Earth, the orange glow of city lights lit up the land masses in the ethereal snapshot. It was the unmistakable mark of civilization on an habitable world, far from our own, the kind of planet with biomarkers astronauts The kind of planet with biomarkers astronauts spent decades searching for. The automated processes steered our vessel towards a celestial body. In all of its glamour, I watched as we glided towards the atmosphere. The last thing between us and that tour of the human homeworld, the galaxy's beating heart.
There's no place like home.
Dustin made a shrill exhale, which the translator classed as a whistle, a non-verbal exhale signaling appreciation.
It's almost time for that tour of the Embassy Row. You'll get an excellent view of the spaceport on the way to it. You'll get an excellent view of the spaceport on the way out, too, Tassie. Soak it all in. Next stop, Earth.
I buckled myself into a seat, restraining myself from any excited dancers or uncontrollable flip or movement. Naltor settled down next to me, admiring the view in his quiet manner. Well, I'd all but pushed it into the background, the Salmon wouldn't be forgetting about the implant in his neck anytime soon. The sole factor commanding my attention was that it would be like a walk. The sole factor commanding my attention was what it would be like to walk this alien planet. And then what? The sole factor commanding my attention was what would it be. The sole factor commanding my attention was what it would be like to walk this alien planet and take in what our host intended for us to witness. No doubt, there would be public attention on our entourage, so I needed my military friend to act presentable. I hoped to make a positive first impression on anyone we encountered here. End of chapter.
Thank you, Yamashisha. Thank you. That is probably going to be us for today. Voice is struggling a little bit. Concentration's definitely struggling. But such is life. Such is life. Anyways, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you all for joining me. It's very much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I hope you all have a fantastic one, whatever it may be, night, day, or, those are really the two options. I hope you have a fantastic day, night, sleep, work, whatever it is.